This is a test from Zoom to my YouTube site to see if that works. And it seems like there is a slight delay in what happens in the volume. So if you're hearing this at all and you're perhaps seeing it on YouTube and maybe hearing it a second time, that's why. I think that's something in Star Trek originally. Maybe search for Spock. And Scotty actually goes and he scuttles his brand new ship. It's got all the newfangled buttons and everything, and the touch screens and blah blah blah. And then when Kirk asks him how he does it, he says something like, "The greater the technology, the easier it is to screw it up." I feel that way frequently in the modern world of technology, finding all the buttons and all the things you're supposed to do and cut and paste and slots and all that. I mean, I know that it's just another form of knowledge. Like you learn how to do the thing and you do the thing, right? But still, it seems almost as though it's not a worldly thing, like it's a language or it's a technique or whatever that's not real. And I wonder if that isn't a frequent occurrence actually in our world of electronics, where we are always in electronics all the time, seeing videos and looking at the net and doing chat and all this. And we somehow forget that there's an actual world out there somewhere, out there somewhere. Working with the real world, it's like you get grounded and you stay in that real world and you're immersed in that real world. And all that you do is in that real world. It's tangible. We are incarnated beings. We are not just a head on a stick. We're not just a soul floating around or something. We're not even a Gnostic, like evil clay trapping a purity of spirit. No, we're incarnated beings. Our world is in here as well as in here. My daughter was talking about this the other day, how like we have to touch things and touch things and touch things all the time. We're tangible creatures. We like touching stuff. And I often wonder about that when I'm working in electronics. You're not touching stuff. Your mind is touching stuff. Your soul is touching stuff. Neil Postman and Marsha McLuhan used to talk about how the enhancement of the mind through this technological world was infinite. There's no like limit to it. Your mind goes off into the net and you're floating out there somewhere. And, you know, you could discover anything and find out anything. And wow, isn't it great? But at the other side of it, it isn't great because it's like an ocean. It's like you go out on the ocean and you're floating out there infinitely. No boat. Moby Dick has wrecked your boat. It's just you, like Pit, the little boy on the waves, or like in that great movie, All Is Lost, right? You're just floating out there, kind of alone in the net, in the ether. There's a great line out of Ratzinger's book about Christianity and how Christianity is like a piece of wreckage that you cling to in this ocean or this sea, Odysseus like clinging to wreckage in order to survive the waves that buffet you here and there. And it's kind of like that when you're out on the net. At least I find it that way. I find it like you're out on the net and you're floating somewhere. You're trying to discover technology and you're floating somewhere, and there's no spar to hang on to. There's nothing to grapple with. There's nothing to put your hands around. It's exhausting. It's bloody exhausting. And that's not even bringing up the fact that you can look at stuff and see stuff that no human should ever look at. They were saying, I think Jordan Peterson, I was watching the other day, was saying that, pornography alone out on the net, a man can be exposed or a woman can be exposed to images of naked people, thousands of images of naked people, obscene levels of nakedness, you could say, and interaction, which used to be people did not look at. I mean, growing up as a young man, you'd be lucky to see like one girl with clothes on, let alone be able to see a picture of, a National Geographic thing or a painting in the Metropolitan Museum of Art of some scantily clad, chubby lady reclining on an ottoman. And now, you get online and you see thousands of pictures in a few seconds. Pictures of things that you should never have seen at all. Sharks in the water, There are these sharks in the water. If the net is like an ocean, there are sharks in the water and other creatures that come up from the depths. And then there are horrors you can see. And you could find out all kinds of horrible stuff and see all kinds of horrible things that make you worry about asteroids hitting the Earth or about the evaporation of the ozone layer, or about aliens descending and taking you up to be probed. Never used to worry about that, right? And imagine if somebody had nothing else but the net that they're sitting there looking into, peering into all the time, never pulling themselves away from their desk or their phone, so that all they ever saw was that. It would be like they're being in an ocean filled with monsters, adrift. The rhyme of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge is like this, water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. Water, water everywhere, and how the boards did stink. The sense that, like, you're out there in the ether, in the internet, looking at things that you shouldn't look at, slimy things on the sea. Sometimes. Or trying to figure out how the technology works so you can get your streaming video to go from this place over to that place, that kind of thing. Just trying to figure it out. It's like trying to wrestle Proteus to the ground. Proteus, the god that ever shifts and changes and alters, and I don't know. It's exhausting. But imagine being somebody whose only access to the world is that because they're crippled or they're housebound or they've gotten sucked into it. And all that they ever experienced was within this little thing here. Wouldn't that be debilitating to a person? I mean, how do we know what effect that even has on a person yet? How do we know what effect it has on us as a race? One thing we're experiencing already is like this drop in wanting to date people, this drop in wanting to meet people of the opposite sex, this drop in wanting to have any sexual contact or congress with other people. No longer reproducing the species, like the species dropping off the cliff. This is a real phenomenon, apparently. I know that we can't drop it all at the feet of electronics, but if you're in this little box all the time, in the basement of your parents or in the basement of your own home or whatever it is, or it doesn't have to be the basement, but if you're in it all the time, why would you leave? It's so nice. It's so lovely. It gives you everything you need. You just have to take a break occasionally, to take a piss or to get something else to drink. Why would you ever leave? It's like the Lotus Eaters in Odysseus's story. Come be with us. And I don't mean to be totally down on it or anything, but there are moments where I'm like, I've been at this for a couple hours trying to figure this out, where I've been down this rabbit hole at YouTube, where I've been on the net, looking for something in particular. Like I was reading the other day, this Port Huron document by the Students for the Democratic Society. That's a messed up document. Now, admittedly, there's some advantages to this as well. I'm not to be totally down on electronics or anything because it's a tool, it's an invention. It gives us access to things that maybe we do need access to discover what's actually going on, to discover what the NWO is doing, for instance, or to find the stats of some thing that we need to research, we need to know, or to discover what's actually happening in another country that we can actually change. But Postman says it gives you the worry and it takes away the power to do anything about it. It makes you impotent and worried. So that you enter into this stage of, as he called it, prolonged mental rutting. Trying constantly to fix the thing and not being able to fix the thing. I mean, worried about the thing, some event that's happening way over there on the other side of the bathwater, or way over here in the future, or whatever. And you can't do a thing about it. And it gives you this constant frustration about it, but you can't fix it. And if you never leave, or step away from the thing, get away from the tool, then it sucks you in and it keeps you there and it gives you anxiety. And your whole world gets framed by this box, this little box. Your little vision of the world is just this. Which, as a tool is great. But it's different from other tools, isn't it? I mean, you don't keep going back to the lawnmower every single hour. You don't go and pick up a shovel and hold that shovel and look at that shovel and concentrate on that shovel for hours on end. You don't go and pick up a spatula or a blender or, a ruler or whatever and say, oh, this is it. I'm going to just focus on that forever, and keep at. You don't do that. We don't do that. Why? Because the nature of the tool is different. The tool is different. The tool is an infinite tool. It expands the consciousness or the nervous system, as Neil Postman called it, expands it to infinity. And maybe that's not a good thing. I think the imagery of expanding it to the level of an ocean is understandable. That's understandable. It's like being out on the ocean. Or to use a Tolkien reference, it's like staring into a palantir. Well, you see things, but maybe those things that you see or experience or delve into are curated by something. Is it possible? Is such a thing possible? Is it possible that your world is influenced by this tool? That your world is influenced by watching me right now? I mean, maybe this is like, maybe this is an advertisement to not pay attention to anything I say and not follow my channel and not join this community. Maybe. But if you can't control the tool, if the tool controls you, isn't that addiction? How do you get away from that? Step away from it, right? Step away from it. This is something which, oh my gosh, to be candid, I don't understand why more schools, colleges, governments don't grapple with this very situation. What is the crisis that we are experiencing right now? Is it an asteroid hitting? Is it the environment being destroyed? Is it imminent war? Yeah, all those are important. But the crisis that really seems to be hitting us right now is a crisis of humanity, of this technology right here, the addiction to it, the crisis of despair. A crisis of worry, anxiety, loss of vision, loss of understanding what a human being actually is, loss of being able to interact with other human beings, fear of interacting with other human beings, a loss of desire to continue the race, a loss of desire to meet somebody else of the opposite sex, a loss of a sense of self. I think that's a bigger crisis than most of the other crises that we worry about on the net. And how do we combat it? Step away from the tool, I say. Step away. Go outside. Touch grass, as they say, as the kids these days say. Touch grass. Go outside. Do something. Bake cookies. Talk to somebody else. Go for a walk or a hike. Go swimming. Go gardening. Go ride your bike. Something built into your day. Moments where you get away from it. IT, right? It. Get away from it. If we understood the crisis for what it really was, if we really saw it as a dissolution of ourself or the being sucked into the tool or somehow being captured here, captured, would we be so blithe about it? I mean, would we be saying, oh, it's not a big deal. I'll just spend 16 hours online. Would it be so blithe if we really saw entertainment in general? Not just the online stuff, but the whole chat culture, the whole fan fiction culture, the whole watching movies culture. If we saw it for what it might actually be, which is a trap, a technology trap, as they say in that series, Connections. If you saw it as a technology trap, the trap is closing. Even as you're watching me, the trap is closing. Maybe you need to get out. Maybe you need to leave. Maybe you need to flee. Govern your world. That seems to be the only other way, because we can't completely leave it. I mean, we can go completely Luddite, live off a farm somewhere. But how do we find out how to do that, right? Don't you have to get online to find out how to do that? No, you need a book. So you need to order a book, right? So go to Amazon and order a book, right? How do you get away from it? One way you get away from it is the Marcus Aurelius solution. Marcus Aurelius, who was the great Stoic philosopher, king, general, Caesar, whatever, who wrote about this back, in the, what was it, the second, third century AD. And he was talking about how you have to govern yourself. You have to control yourself, self-control, work it into your day. And I'm speaking to specific individuals that I know and love at this point. It's not just that daddy and mommy tell you. It's not just that Sergeant Stadanko tells you, right? It's not just that, the teacher tells you. It's that you are in danger of falling apart. You're in danger of losing yourself. You're in danger of being engulfed, overwhelmed by the ocean, eaten by sharks, right? Like Watson and the shark, eaten by sharks. You've escaped. How do we escape that? How do we remain human, not just for ourselves, but for humanity itself? You worry about humanity. The best way to fix humanity is to try and fix yourself. The best thing you can do to save the human race, to save civilization, is to fix yourself. Know yourself. And only then can you stand up and do the things you need to do in order to save what needs saving. But first and foremost, you need to recognize that you're in a trap and govern yourself so that the trap doesn't close. knowing that the trap isn't going to go away, knowing that you may have to stand inside the trap as it is closing and keep it from closing. You know, in Alcoholics Anonymous, they say 1 day at a time. Don't try to fix everything, 1 day at a time. If you can manage 1 day at a time, oh, this day, I was able to do X, Y, and Z. And then I spent 8 hours on the computer. I'll do better tomorrow. I kissed my spouse. I hugged my children. I went out for a walk for 5 minutes. I did my laundry. I brushed my teeth. I made my bed. I cooked a burger or two. I called a friend. I visited my mom. I said a prayer. I read at least a page or two in Charles Dickens, or I listened to him on a podcast. I'll do better tomorrow. 1 day at a time, right? 1 day at a time. Rome isn't built in a day. And if you are going to save yourself, fix yourself, Rome isn't built in a day. And one more thing too, and this is something which becomes more imminent the older you get. You aren't saving yourself, you're participating in the saving of yourself. There's a difference. Realize you aren't doing the saving, right? I am not doing the saving. I don't save myself, God forbid. I mean, if it were just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, what a hell of a thing that is, right? Gosh. And then every time you failed, you would be responsible for it. And then everything that you did that was so wrong would be unforgivable, right? Because to be forgiven, you have to have someone forgive you. So, Jesus, the Christ, we can debate what that means. We can debate who that was. We can debate the legitimacy and the roots of that. We could talk about that. But as they say also with Alcoholics Anonymous, not just 1 day at a time, go with God. Go with God. Stop trying to be such a Superman, and instead go with God. Allow God to fix you. Allow him to work in your life, even if it is incremental, step by step, moment by moment. Because the alternative is the ocean. Unless you learn to navigate the ocean, unless you learn to trust that your little bark will make it to shore, all is lost, right? So as Joseph Ratzinger says, you cling to that bark and you trust that it will get you where you are going to go. And as you learn more, and as you grow more, and as you become stronger and more efficient in being able to survive the trap of the ocean, you'll also find that you are able to let go and let God. I pray for that for everybody. For all y'all. For all y'all, I pray for that. Anyway, this was a test, an emergency broadcast test. And hopefully in the future, I'll be able to develop more of these.